Hi, my name is Riley Kowaleski, and today I'm going to be talking about the effects of weight cutting in adolescent wrestlers, and as well as my internship at Joe's Gym here in Indianola. So to start, I just want to begin by saying that weight cutting has become a norm for most wrestlers, and it can lead to a lot of physiological and psychological consequences. Adolescence is a critical period for growth and development, so it can lead to hormone imbalances, sleep disruptions, mood disturbances, and overall just has a lot of harmful consequences to adolescent wrestlers. The reason why one may cut weight is because they think they have a competitive advantage over their competitor. They think that dropping a few weight classes or a weight class may give them a size advantage or strength advantage over their opponent. There's also cultural pressure from coaches, family, teammates, and even fans. Once you reach the college level, college fans really want some wrestlers to go certain weights. It can be a lot of pressure on the wrestler. However, there's been a lot of research into this weight cutting tradition, and there's been a lot saying that it's very harmful, can have lots of physiological and psychological consequences. One of the more interesting things that I found was the hormonal disruption that weight cutting can have on adolescents, particularly growth hormone and insulin-like growth factor. So, growth hormone and insulin-like growth factor are needed for growth, recovery, and muscle development. They work together because growth hormone basically stimulates the release of insulin-like growth factor. However, when caloric restriction and intense exercise are combined, this can lead to growth hormone resistance. So, when growth hormone is released from the anterior pituitary gland, there's a resistance factor with the insulin-like growth factor. So basically, there will be less insulin-like growth factor being secreted due to there being an overstim or an over secretion of growth hormone, leading to resistance. With dehydration and thermal regulation, this is another big area when it comes to weight loss. And um, a lot of wrestlers will restrict fluids hours or days before weigh-ins. They'll use saunas to excessively sweat. They'll use sauna suits, like the man in the picture here. The problem with this is adolescents have an immature sweating mechanism. So dropping a lot of water weight using these methods can lead to heat stroke and heat exhaustion, mainly because adolescents just don't have a developed sweating mechanism compared to adults. Another big thing to consider is bone health, and how we measure that is bone mineral density. Usually with wrestling, which is a high weight bearing activity, we would see an increase in bone mineral density in the athlete. However, when paired with poor nutrition and lack of calcium in the diet, this can lead to a decreased bone mineral density. So, another thing that we can tie into this is the IGF suppression. So, with low bone mineral density, it's also shown to have suppressed insulin-like growth factor. So, tying back into the hormonal discussion, this can really impact our growth and development as well. The reason why we want an increase in bone mineral density when wrestling is because it can decrease our risk of stress fractures, and it can also decrease the risk of overuse injuries. So, having low bone mineral density are higher risk factors of those, and it also just having low bone mineral density will also delay bone growth. Some things that are swept under the rug are the psychological impacts that go along with rapid weight loss in a wrestling context. So, usually, a wrestling season is in a time where there's holidays such as Christmas and Thanksgiving, where wrestlers are having to restrict their diets and meet weight deadlines and maybe not eat as much as they want to at Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner. This can lead to mood disturbances, irritability, anger, and anxiety. So overall, this can just put a lot of pressure on the athlete and even hinder their performance as well. Another thing to consider is sleep and recovery because those are huge things when it comes to just being an athlete in general. Cutting weight can lead to those sleep disturbances. So an athlete may not, or a wrestler may not be able to get enough sleep at night because they're not eating enough or they're not properly hydrated. This can lead to a disruption in REM cycles and growth hormone. Tying back into the hormonal discussion, growth hormone is typically released at a certain time in your REM cycle, and when that REM cycle is disrupted, it also disrupts the growth hormone release. So, tying back into our recovery, having that lack of growth hormone release can really hinder the recovery of the wrestler. I also found that was pretty interesting is the lack of sleep can lead to mood disturbances. It makes sense when a wrestler is not able to sleep as much, they're going to be on edge. They're going to be having those anxiety, those anxious feelings, and anger and irritability as well. So one of the big things that must be considered is the impact on performance when cutting weight. A lot of wrestlers may think that they have an advantage. However, having a lack of nutrients, lack of hydration, lack of sleep, it can all lead to fatigue in matches and practice. There's also a higher risk of injury when it comes to when it comes to rapid weight loss in wrestling because you're pairing that low bone mineral density with that low recovery rate. And there's also a confidence factor that goes into things. So when a wrestler steps on the mat and they think that they may be bigger than their opponent, they may think they have a advantage. They may be more confident. However, there's also the argument that there are negative mental health outcomes from long periods of cutting weight leading up to competition. So that confidence can diminish over time. So another big thing to consider is the culture influence in coaching. A lot of weight cutting practices are passed down through generations. So most of the time, a wrestler is interacting with their coach on a daily basis, and it's very important for the coach to be a good primary influence because if the coach is using outdated techniques to cut weight, this can really hinder the athlete's performance. It can hinder their health. It's really a lack of medical guidance that can lead to these severe outcomes. And it's really serious because one day that athlete may turn into a coach and then coach the next generation of kids and just pass on and just repeat the cycle. And it's a large barrier that needs to change when it comes to the sport of wrestling and rapid weight loss. So now I just want to switch gears a little bit, talk about my internship at Joe's Gym here in Indianola. Joe works as a personal trainer for athletes and also those seeking general wellness. So I really liked it. I saw a wide variety of people. It was just here in town. He was super flexible with me in school. So I really liked working with Joe. And yeah, another thing I really liked about working with Joe is we weren't always just stuck in a gym the whole time working with athletes or working with clients. So a lot of the time, or some of the time, we collaborated with the Indianola Community Youth Foundation. And one specific event, we ran a youth agility camp one Saturday morning. We had two groups come in. We had a K through eighth grade group, and then we had a high school group come in. And a lot of it, we were just focusing on agility workouts. And I really liked working with the youth group because they were high energy. And even though it was early in the morning, it was super fun to work with them. They were a lot of fun to, run around with and run them through drills. Once the older kids came in, I liked it as well. I just felt like it was a little, they knew what to do. We didn't have to structure it as much, and we didn't have to, motivate them as much as we did the little kids. So it was a good little balance. I enjoyed that day a lot, and I would like to do it again. But along with that, working with Joe one on one, I developed recovery focused relief day workouts for a wrestler and a few personalized nutrition plans that would help a wrestler cutting weight. That will hopefully benefit me when I'm coaching one day. And also, when I was working with the clients in Joe's gym, I was usually leading them through drills and warm ups. Um, a lot of the time, I really uh, liked working with the athletes, and even when I wasn't working with the athletes, I was still engaged and just trying to really just get them warmed up for Joe to come in, take the lead, and then I'd be able to have some feedback and get some input there. So some of the pros and cons of working with Joe, I've really enjoyed working with a lot of the athletes, and it was a really fun, energetic training environment. Joe had really good music playing all the time. Joe was super laid back, and really he had a lot of experience to give me. Like it was awesome just working with a variety of kids and learning the different ways to motivate them. I guess that was a con as well, as some of the clients did lack some motivation, and I kind of had to learn from Joe based on his experience with them how hard you need to push some clients or how much you may need to let off. I had it was a learning experience at first, but once we saw the same clients, maybe I saw the same client twice. I was able to pick up pretty easy on how hard they needed pushed. Other than that, I mean, I couldn't really complain about too much. Some tasks seemed a little repetitive. There's also some scheduling issues. Like we may be playing catch up a little bit, and someone would come through a door with their son that had a training session with Joe, and usually they were understanding of it. We kind of just had to pick things up a little bit and adjust to it. But it was a little less structured than expected, but I really enjoyed it overall. So I just want to say thank you for listening to my presentation. Thank you to Joe for allowing me to intern with him. And it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun being able to learn about this topic, and I really hope it'll benefit me in the future as a wrestling coach. Thank you.